Hi, this is Khalil Guliwala. Welcome to another episode of the BIPOC Manager Podcast. And today's episode, I'm glad to have back again Camille Isaacs Morell with us. Camille is a business leader, volunteer, and artist who uses her talents to help people and organizations be better and do better. Half of her career has been the Foreign Service in Jamaica and the corporate sector, the Standard Life Assurance Company in McKesson, Canada. She then switched over to the nonprofit sector, where she was executive director of the Alzheimer's Society in Montreal and now as vice president, Hope for Dementia. She's been involved as a volunteer and a board member for organizations that support better health, women and girls and marginalized persons. Now, in the last time I had Camille on the episode, she was talking about asking for winning conditions, the challenge of tokenism, ambushing, and just making sure that BIPOC professionals are making the most of the situation. The one item we didn't get to talk about was making a strategic exit. And so here's where I wanted to give the floor to Camille. Camille, please. Uh,
Yes. Thank you very much, Khalil, for having me continue that conversation. Just to recap, I had said in the earlier podcast that we have to ask for winning conditions for our success. We have to be emotionally intelligent to learn to navigate the various personalities that we're going to be working with. And I also touched on the, excuse me, on the topic of tokenism and ambushing, which a lot of BIPOC people unfortunately face. We're hired as a token, and somewhere along the line, we're ambushed or we're not supported. There are many people who can tell that story. Now, today, I want to continue by talking about what happens when the conditions for success are not met, when your back is against the wall, when the resources are not available, when there's a big change and there's the leadership moves on and you're left to carry the ball. What happens when you realize that this is really not working out? This is where I say that we have to know how to exit strategically. Now, why this is important for BIPOCs is that very often we are maybe the first person in the organization to be at that level of leadership, or maybe the first hire from that type of background. And the powers that be in the organization are basing their impressions on their experience they have had with you. So you have to also remember that there are others who may come after you, and you really need to make sure that whatever trail that you blaze, that it's blazed properly. And if things don't work out, that you handle it effectively and professionally. Right. So you'll find a lot of common advice being given that, you speak with your manager first before you speak with anybody. You write a letter, explain the reasons, don't badmouth. All of that is good, and all of that is quite right and correct. Okay. What I would like to highlight today is that for BIPOCs, many organizations feel the need to say that they have visible minorities with all this talk about diversity and inclusion. So during the resignation process, you may be faced with a counteroffer. Okay. You may also be asked to leave right away. So you have to be prepared when you are leaving to, first of all, decide if you're going to accept a counteroffer. My personal opinion is never accept a counteroffer, because when you make your decision, it's time to move on. And many people who have accepted counteroffers regret later. Many organizations would want to keep you there because you're the only visible minority, and they need to keep that image going. And that's tokenism, and it's wrong. The second thing is, if an organization truly valued your contribution or was invested in your success, it shouldn't be at the last minute that they're trying to make amends. Okay.
Exactly.
The other thing I would say too is that you should, before you hand your letter of resignation in, collect your personal effects and all personal files, and make sure that you can remove them very quickly, because there are situations where it is corporate policy to escort you out of the building.
Mm.
It's not personal. It can be humiliating to some people, but that's the reality. That could happen. Okay, so two things: be prepared to answer for when a counteroffer is presented. The answer to something, to a counteroffer is thank you. However, I have made my decision, and leave it at that. Be very succinct. If you're being asked to leave right away, you should have your personal effects either already prepared or they would have been removed from the office. It goes without saying that if there's a transition period, if you're going to stay on for another 2 to 3 weeks until your resignation takes effect, then you should really continue to work professionally, effectively. Don't ever give the impression that you're in a hurry to leave. Even if you are, you don't have to act the way you feel. So that's, I'm just talking about the resignation process. But we could talk about other things, like how do you, when you see it coming, and how you prepare for that.
Yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on that, Camille. The idea is, is that, at what point you say, I need to make a strategic exit. You walk us through that, please,
At
Camille.
what point? Okay. So this is where you have to do some deep reflection. What is at the root cause? What is the root cause for your wanting to leave? Is it because there's the absence of resources? Is it because there's no further scope for growth? Is it because there's a personality clash? What is the root cause of your frustration? What is putting you in that frame of mind where you want to, you've had enough and you want to leave? Once you are clear about that, you also need to be careful that you're not explaining that reason in a way that makes it like a personal reaction to somebody else's actions towards you, even if it is. In a particular case that I know about, there was a person who said that they really couldn't continue working with the board of directors because the board was non-functional, and the leader of the president of the board was not demanding or not asking the members of the board to behave a certain way, and did not, was not ready to part ways with them. What the person decided to do was, yes, I'm going to leave, but I put a time frame on this.
Yeah.
I have a few projects that I need to finish. What objectives were set for me that I'm able to achieve? And they put a time frame on that. And the reason for leaving was that I have achieved my objectives. It has been a very exhausting but very rewarding experience, but I cannot recommit for another 3 years to continue another set of objectives. The person was actually saying that they delivered on what was asked of them, yes, but they're not able to continue working. They didn't say under those conditions, but we're not able, because of that, maybe it's now time to give more attention to another career objective, or maybe they're retiring, or for some other reason. But do not use the reasons for leaving in a way that is, you're laying blame on somebody else, okay? Because we all have to take responsibility for our own success. So that's the first thing. Be very clear on the reason why you want to leave, then set a time frame for the departure. During that time frame, I think it's very important for the person to adjust to the situation, meaning that if the persons who you're reporting to, or the leader who you are reporting to, requires you to work in a way that you do not find necessarily pleasant, but if that is what is going to let you leave in a positive light, adapt to the situation, make up your mind that it's only going to be for another 3 months that I'm putting up with this, and And even if you need to get some coaching help and support on how to adapt to that situation until you're ready to leave. And when you leave very graciously and very professionally, and they'll realize that maybe on their end, they didn't give you what they needed, but you never go back and badmouth them or have an argument as tempting as that may seem.
Yeah. Camille, what I'm hearing from you is reputation is such a huge part of this. So even when you're making an exit, it's sort of how you carry yourself in this conversation. Stuff where even if there's blame delay, you kind of take the higher road, you deliver on projects, you deliver success. That way no one can reproach you as sort of just anybody just leaving a situation. This you can actually show the success behind it and them leaving on. And it seems as if that is also maybe BIPOC professionals are put on a sort of on a higher level about that, right? So can you talk a bit more sort of like, in terms of that success? Now they're making this, now exiting from a place, but what about the next step? Like, is there a way they can use that strategic exit to actually plan to see to where they're going to next?
Yes, that's the other thing. While you're planning your exit, you should be very discreet and careful about the job search or the next step that you're taking. I think it's important, yes, to enhance your LinkedIn profile and your social media presence. But at the same time, do not network with the people who are within the organization or who are connected to the organization. The other thing is when you're making the move to the next step and you are trying to, you're explaining your reasons for leaving. The reason for leaving should be consistent to all persons with whom you speak. You make sure that that reason is consistent everywhere and it can be explained in one sentence without giving too many details. I've achieved all of my goals. It's now time for me to move on to something else. I appreciate the experience that I've had here, but there are other things that I would like to learn. Be very consistent with that one reason for leaving. Quietly do your job search. The other thing is, if you're taking a break, simply say that it's time for me to take a break and to and do some self-care. That in today's world of work is not poorly regarded. Actually, it's highly regarded when people recognize that they need to take care of themselves to come fresh to do something else. Okay. I would say too that when you're going to make the next move, if you're asked when you're leaving where you're going to, you can say that, but don't go into any details. There are some bosses who will make a snide remark about what you're going to be doing. Just smile and simply say, okay, I've made my decision. Yeah. Persons like me who are very verbal and would like to say exactly what's on my mind, I go into that type of conversation being clear on what it is you're going to be discussing. And it's the same approach that you take when you go to prospective employers or where you're networking. Be very, very clear, avoid too much detail, be able to make that marketing pitch. And I know that we've had some other speakers on this podcast talking about your personal brand and how you present yourself. Be very clear about that. And at the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to make sure that your professional reputation is protected. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe, Kimmy, what I think maybe if I can ask one more question on that line about sort of your reputation is, what it is through all this, what I keep hearing is reputation is so important, especially for BIPOC professionals. They may actually be building the networks from scratch, building visibility from scratch. Through all this, any advice for people, and I've been there where, I've left bad toxic environments, and in some sense, I was sort of put to defend my choice to leave toxic environments. Any advice for somebody who's sort of leaving these environments, like in terms of how they should
Okay.
explain that transition?
Okay, so before I answer that question, I just want to also say that I've been talking about situations where you are planning an exit and you're going, there are some situations where you just really have to leave immediately because it's just toxic and it's just really not working out, or your rights are being trampled on. There's a lot of overt discrimination and situations like that. Yes, but make sure you get the advice of a professional, and leave on the very professional terms. Sometimes it's not a pretty scene. Okay. Now, when you move on to somewhere else, be very clear. If you're coming from a toxic environment and you're going somewhere else, complement the place that you're targeting. From my past experience, I know I can't work in a place where the values and the culture are not aligned with my values and the work culture that I expect. Your organization seems to offer these values that are aligned with mine, so that's why I'm coming to you. You see, you compliment them and let them know that you are committed to the environment that they have. Don't spend time criticizing what you've left behind. You're just saying you're moving towards something that is in line with your values, and their organization appears to offer that. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Camille. Before we wrap up, I want to check with you. Is there anything that you want to highlight? Anything that you'd want to mention?
Yes, believe it or not, it's a small world, very, very small world. And you never know which bridge you may have to cross again. So don't burn any bridge behind you. The other thing too is the whole question of grace, being kind to people who you don't think quite deserve kindness because they've been mean to you. You'd be surprised at how many people who may have treated you not very nicely will need your help in the future. Turn around and help them. I believe in karma, good karma. Don't hold any grudge against anybody who has done you wrong. And if there will come a time when they may need your help, help them. Always show that you're the better person. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. In a place of darkness, I think it's important to put light.
Yes.
Yeah. Camille, thank you for being a guest today. In terms of anybody who wants to kind of follow you, kind of look at your content, what's the best place they can do that?
You can visit me on my website, CamilleIsacsMorell.com, or on my LinkedIn profile. Okay, it's Camille Isaacs Morell, and we're in Quebec, so si vous voulez communiquer avec moi en français, ça ne me dérange pas, ou en anglais or in English, that's fine. I'm open. I like networking, and I think from my past professional experience, I would like to share with other people who are going through their careers now and have some challenging situations. I think I may be able to offer them some good advice. I'm always open to doing that. So check out my website or my LinkedIn profile and speak with me.
Thank you so much for being a guest today, Camille.
And thank you for this opportunity, Khalil.